Hi. So, today's topic is just about living in the moment, right? And dealing with anxiety and these thoughts about the uncertainty of the future, because the only thing that it's doing is taking away from the now, whether that's stuff in your past or future. We can read here in Meditations in Book 2. Remember two things: that everything has always been the same and keeps reoccurring, and it makes no difference whether you see the same things recur in 100 years or 200 years or an infinite period. So that's the first thing to remember. And the second, that the longest lived and those who die soonest lose the same thing. The present is all they can give up, since that is all you have, and what you do not have, you cannot lose. Right? We can reference this as well back in Scripture to Matthew 6, a snippet of verse 25 and 27. So the beginning of verse 25 says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life." And then it goes on to say, do not worry about what you will eat, what you will drink, clothes, money, all these other things that you should not worry about. And then later on down in the same passage in verse 27, it says, "And can any of you by worrying add a single hour to your lifespan?" So, what both of these have in common, both of these ideas, both Marcus Aurelius and God himself, is that all that you currently have is the present. You don't have control over the future. You can't change the past. You can sorrow in the past. That's not a good idea. You can worry about the future as well, but that's not a good idea. So, and this kind of all ties back into as well memento mori, right? That we're all gonna die. That's, a lot of people are scared of death, and I can understand it, but I feel like some people need to have a simple reframe. I would be scared not to die, because death is a natural human occurrence. In order to have life, death is part of it. Any living organism has to go through that. It's not like you'll be the only one. It's not like you'll be the last one or the first one to go through it. That's the way that God created this earth, is that you live and you die. And what you do in between those 2 points, right? Because God has created this world as just a endless amount of time, right? He has complete control over everything. But he has given you a certain set amount. For some people, it could be this, maybe a newborn baby. They have this much of a life. Or it could be somebody else, an elderly gentleman. He has 110 years. You don't know. But whether you have this much or this much, it's not in your control. What you can control is how you spend the amount of time that you have in your segment of life. Unfortunately, death is something that you cannot escape. It's not even unfortunate. That is something to be fortunate about. Because if you weren't scared of this ending, then it just goes on forever, right? There's no meaning to anything in reality. And this is where I feel like a lot of people, they chase the wrong things. And what I mean by that is, if you have this much life, right? Let's say that you're an average person and you're going to live to, let's say 78. Let's say that's the average age. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But let's say 78 years. What are you going to do in those 78 years? And this is where people, they change what they want in order to please societal norms. Whether that's going to school, going to college, becoming a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a business owner, a mother, a stay-at-home mom, a businesswoman, whatever it may be, people, they let other people and society influence how you're going to spend this super small fragment. And an issue that goes right along this is success. What is success? My definition of success is much different from somebody else's, right? You know, there's 8 billion people on this earth. Everybody's definition of success is a little bit different. Maybe success to an individual is being able to provide for his family and not have anything beyond that. Maybe his success is being able to provide for his 2 kids and for them to not have to worry about money, right? Maybe somebody else's version of success is a Bugatti and they own a whole island and all this stuff, right? Maybe somebody else's version of success is just being happy. They don't have anything. Their success is just being happy. They could be homeless. And think about this. A person who just wants to be happy, and that is their version of success, is more successful than the billionaire who has not yet reached his version of success. Because he doesn't have the Bugatti, the island, you know, the bimbo chick that, whatever it may be, right? The homeless guy is more successful because his definition of success he has achieved rather than this guy. And that's why filling this small gap of time that you have with your version of success is what you would truly find purpose with. And not letting this be dictated by parental influences, siblings, friends, mentors, people that you look up to, celebrities, any sort of idol, any individual, any societal norm, anything along those lines. This needs to be your purpose, your success, because you have all these other people that could, you know, affect and almost draw you out of what your line is. But when you're down to your last breath and you look at your life, you're not going to think about what Jared wanted your life to be, or what Susan wanted your life to be, or what Derek's version of success was. You're gonna want yours. And it's too much of a common occurrence, both for men and women, that they spend their whole life. This is a Dan Martell quote. People spend their whole lives climbing a skyscraper to look across the street once they get to the top, look out into the horizon, and realize they climbed the wrong skyscraper. Break that down for a second. They spend their whole lives building a skyscraper, and once they complete it and get to the very top of what they've spent their whole life, they look out into the horizon and they didn't climb the right one. I'm gonna end on that note, and I want you guys to sit and ponder that idea, and hopefully you can fill your limited time that God has given you with purpose and success that is your definition and not somebody else's.